The World Health Organization officially declares the Caribbean region Zika-free. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, October 18th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The World Health Organization, the WHO, has removed its Zika virus country classification from regional countries following a call from CARICOM for the immediate reclassification of member states of the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA. This removal of the categorization comes on the heels of data released by CARPHA giving evidence that the Zika virus transmission in the Caribbean had been interrupted for over 12 months or was at undetectable levels, thereby posing very little risk to residents and visitors to the region. Based on that evidence, CARICOM wrote to the WHO's Director General calling for the immediate reclassification of regional countries from Category 1, which means having active Zika transmission, to Category 3, having no Zika transmission. According to CARPHA's Executive Director, Dr. James Hospitalis, the Zika classification was having an adverse impact on the Caribbean. He said that impact was confirmed by the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association and the Caribbean Tourism Organization, which made a formal request to CARPHA for its intervention. The tourism officials had complained that ongoing cancellations due to the classification of most Caribbean countries as Category 1 was hurting the industry unnecessarily. CARPHA said it was forced to intervene. Dr. Hospitalis said the classification was also against the tenets of the international health regulations. 2 students from the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus were taken into police custody after protest action at the institution on Thursday. It's unclear why they were taken, but after the arrests, other students began calling for them to be released. The students were protesting inadequate security measures at the institution days after an attack on a second-year student on the campus. The Students' Guild held a meeting on Thursday to discuss the issues, but about 5 minutes into the meeting, the students said they were fed up of talk and they proceeded to block the south gate of the university. The situation was being controlled by campus security, but the police later arrived on the scene, and upon the arrival of the law enforcement officers, the students joined hands and formed a human chain, chanting, "United we stand." Student Guild President Darian Narain said the students want to hear from the campus administration about what is being done to ensure their safety. When the police attempted to reopen the gates after meeting with some members of the UWI management, tensions flared. It was then the police held 2 of the Student Guild executives.
One of my students who is demanding with constitution and stuff has been arrested as well. I mean, crime is a rampant issue all across the country. Instead of pulling a man square and talking to him, boy, all they gotta arrest a student, boy. All they gotta arrest a student, boy. Them 2 fellas is not bad fellas. This coming from the guild president. Them 2 fellas out there, oh, you gonna arrest them, boy. You're gonna have the meeting now? I'm going inside to have this meeting. I don't understand it, man. To have crime rampant across the country. Students not, this is not only a protest about students inside campus and security and safety inside campus. This is external. This is national. This is national issues that we're addressing here. National crime. Students not only feeling safe coming inside here, but also not feeling safe going just out on the avenue to take a lime. You can't go there no more. And that's not just students, that's the students' grandmother, the students' father, the students' mother, all the students' family members as well. A person inside our bathroom yesterday, and that was your sister, your mother. How you would feel? How you would feel?
Over in Haiti, police say that at least 2 people were killed and several others injured during protests across the country on Wednesday. According to a police spokesman, 11 people were injured by bullets, while flying rocks injured 11 police officers. But municipal officials reported higher numbers. 14 people were reportedly injured when police opened fire to clear a road for a presidential motorcade. 10 were hit by bullets and 3 are in critical condition. Haitians took to the streets to protest several issues such as the use of the Petro-Caribe Fund, the cost of living, the minimum wage, the reform of the Constitution, as well as the frequent overseas visits of President Jovenel Moïse. Trinidad and Tobago's National Security Minister Stuart Young is pleading with prison officers to stay on the job after angry and frustrated officers threatened to walk off because their cries for protection have gone unanswered. Wednesday afternoon, hours after another prison officer was killed, the second for the month and about the fifth for the year, President of the Prison Officers Association, Saron Richards, said his members had had enough and the body would support any of them who walked off the job. But Minister Young wants them to hold strain.
Understand that persons are angry, upset, scared even. And what I'm calling on is on prison officers to please hold firm, do your duty, and they cannot deny that what we are doing is working along with them.
The minister trying to strike a balance between sympathy and the potential security situation that could arise if frightened officers don't show up to work. For the second time this month, Minister Young is offering condolences to a prison officer's family and colleagues. He calls Francis's murder an unforgivable tragedy, but prisons officers say they've run out of patience and forgiveness. As they threaten to stay off the job, Minister Young says his ministry will respond to any request from the Prison Service Executive for reinforcements.
And as the Minister of National Security, certainly not going to stand by and watch our prisons not be safe and secure, and that prisoners who are in those prisons not kept in the manner that they're supposed to be kept.
He declined to say, though, which agencies the ministry would tap into to supplement manpower. Minister Young is also defending the effectiveness of the interagency operation set up after Prison Superintendent Wayne Jackson was murdered on October 2nd. But he says there needs to be clarity on the purpose of that operation.
There has been no dragging of feet. A couple of weeks ago, a meeting was called along with the other heads of security agencies, and an interagency team has been put in place. An interagency team had been put in place to assist the prison officers in terms of the securing of the prisons themselves. That is not going to provide for outside of the prisons and at the particular homes of various security officers.
Reports online suggest that inmates used their WhatsApp statuses to make threats against prisons officers for confiscating contraband cell phones. The reports connect those threats with Francis's murder. Minister Young tells us he cannot confirm that security services detected any intelligence about such a threat. He also says there is no confirmation that those social media posts came from the prison. Minister Young says if a specific threat is detected, there is a process for other security agencies to respond.
And that report from Faina Richards of TV6 News. Staying in Trinidad and Tobago, the Oilfields Workers Trade Union has announced a plan to take over the state-owned Petrotrin oil refinery and save thousands of jobs. Well, that's if the government agrees to their offer. We get more in this TV6 News report.
On the 2nd of September, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, in his address to the nation following the announcement on the closure of the Petrotrin refinery on August 28, said the OWTU will be given the first option to own and operate it on the most favorable terms. 6 weeks later, the OWTU is seeking to do just that. However, is not willing to own the refinery just yet.
It is, in essence, not to own, but to enter into a long-term lease arrangement and with the option of purchase at the end of those lease arrangements.
The OWTU says it has done its research and won't make the same mistakes as past and present management, adding that the Lashley report recommended a particular approach for the restructure of Petrotrin's refinery. President General Ansel Roger says the union has identified the gaps and inefficiencies in Petrotrin's current management structure and is partnering with foreign management expertise to move forward with the restructure of the refinery with no loss of jobs.
Our proposal of a lease will ensure that all of the jobs that are currently in operation in support of the conduct of the refinery's business will continue. Those jobs will be saved.
Well, except for management positions. Shahid Khan, Regional Vice President of Mac England, an Emirates-based firm that specializes in crude oil and refining processes, would be providing the crucial managerial expertise needed by the Petrotrin refinery once the offer by the OWTU to operate the refinery is taken up by the government.
One of the things that we would like to do is provide top management capabilities to the Petrotrin refinery.
John Van Dyke, Managing Director of Sunstone Equity, based in Suriname, was invited by the OWTU to construct a financial model for the acquisition of Petrotrin. He says if funds were not mismanaged, the claims made by the state that the refinery is not a viable entity is one he disagrees with.
We can prove to you that the refinery can, at the worst, can earn $400 million a year. At the best, at this point, over $800 million a year. This is all U.S., by the way. If you take on the balance sheet of Petrotrin that is put out by the current board, you will find that 5,000 employees are earning roughly $800 million a year. 400 management staff are earning over $700 million a year. So let me leave the rest to your imagination.
The OWTU says its proposal will treat with every issue the government has raised and will be in the country's best interest and should be accepted by any government seeking the interest of the people. A date for the proposal to be placed before the Petrotrin board is to be announced.
Well, coming up in Caribbean Newsline, changes coming to the anti-gang legislation in Jamaica to help police crack down on gangs. We'll be right back.
Imagine a tropical getaway where you can indulge in unsurpassed cuisine, culture and adventure this side of the hemisphere at a special rate. Fall for Barbados this October and dive into the rich offerings of the Caribbean Sea or hear the stirring melodies of jazz at the Elan Trotman Jazz Excursion. Explore fine dining with our world-renowned Barbados Food and Rum Festival. Journey to our many attractions. There is so much to see and do in Barbados this October. Book today with code #4BGI.
Shake body.
Welcome back. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness has signaled that amendments will soon be made to the anti-gang legislation to help police in dismantling criminal gangs. Speaking in the House of Representatives, he said a committee has been named to conduct a review of the legislation. The Ministry of National Security will be working with the committee to determine the changes.
Very shortly, the Minister of National Security should be calling the committee to start the review of the legislation. So I think, Mr. Speaker, we have a fairly comprehensive strategy. I'm not going to say to you it is a perfect strategy, but I repeat the point that the greatest outcome of proceeding like this is to demonstrate to the country that we have a unified position against crime. Though there might be differences at the frills of the policy, but at the core of the policy, criminals cannot find succor in any one political organization. Once we approve, it is clear that criminals everywhere will come under the direct scrutiny and arm of the government.
The parents of St. Lucian Botham Jean, who was killed by a police officer in his home in Dallas, Texas, met with law enforcement officials on Tuesday, seeking an update and answers about their son's death. And they're expressing satisfaction with the outcome of the meeting. We get more in this HTS News report.
Alison Jean has said from the start that she wants answers and vowed not to rest until she gets them. Her son Botham was shot and killed in his Dallas apartment on September 6 by now former Dallas PD officer Amber Geiger. Geiger was charged with manslaughter 3 days after the shooting and fired on September 24th. Jean and her husband Bertram flew to Dallas this week and met with District Attorney Faith Johnson on Tuesday. She says her family is satisfied with what was presented by the DA and her staff.
We realize, based on what was told to us, that the investigation, they've been quite thorough in the investigation, and that they're ensuring that they have all of the evidence to present to a grand jury. So the outcome of the meeting this morning was quite comforting, that the case is progressing, and we're hoping that we could get justice for both of them, arising out of all what the DA's office has done.
The DA's office will bring the case to a grand jury and recommend the charge that Amber Geiger should face at trial. The Jean family is hoping that justice will prevail.
I'm comfortable that all of the evidence and the work that they have been doing throughout the investigation will lead to what is the right thing that came as a result of what transpired.
Earlier this week, the family's attorney reminded the public of the need to keep pressing for justice. In a social media post, he wrote, quote, "As an international case, Botham's murder exposes the sheer absurdity of the American so-called justice system as it relates to police officers and persons of color. It's incumbent on citizens and the community to not only demand justice, but to take action to secure it, demand it from elected officials, cry out for it in the streets, paint a picture of it through art, lobby for it in the legislatures, and stay vigilant," end quote. It's not clear when the case will be brought before the grand jury, but following Tuesday's meeting with the district attorney, Alison and Bertram Jean are expressing comfort and satisfaction with that office's investigation into their son's killing.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, Jamaica's Reggae Girls become the first Caribbean team to reach the FIFA Women's World Cup. Stay with us.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation.
Be prepared. Make an emergency communications plan for your family. What to do, where to go, how to reconnect.
What is it that we have not discussed here, Rachel?
Sure. So I think that something that hasn't been brought up and really hasn't been discussed in mainstream media during all of this is the negative side of Me Too and the sort of cultural precipice that we're facing here. Yes, I think that it is incredibly important that we are seeing this wave of support for victims and support for people who are telling the truth. But what is also happening is an automatic support for these victims without there being evidence.
So I'm also going to add some cinnamon. I got this straight from Grenada, so thank you to my friend Lisa for bringing back some nice fresh cinnamon bark for me. And if you don't have the cinnamon stick, you can just use a little bit of powdered cinnamon. So I forgot to mention that I have my heat on very low because I want this to simmer. And I want all the flavors from those roselle or sorrel leaves, I want it to be extracted from there and go into my sauce.
welcome back. We continue with sports, and the women are dominating. We start off with this. Jamaica became the first Caribbean nation to qualify for a Senior Women's World Cup by defeating Panama 4-2 on penalties, claiming third place in the CONCACAF qualifying tournament on Wednesday. The Jamaica women opened the scoring in the 13th minute when Khadija Shaw buried her shot past Panama's outstanding goalkeeper Yeneth Bailey. It was Shaw's 13th goal for the Reggae Girls in her last 12 national team matches, but Panama drew level in the 74th minute thanks to a strike from Natalia Mills. The score stayed that way at the end of 90 minutes, but Jamaica pulled ahead once again, courtesy of a goal from 16-year-old Jody Brown in the 95th minute. But just 5 minutes from time, Panama was able to lock the scores at 2-2, sending the game to penalties. But after a pair of Panama misses, Dominique Bonflaza placed her shot past Bailey to send Jamaica to France. Well, both the Reggae Girls and Jamaica's netball team, the Sunshine Girls, are down to receive additional funding from the government. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the announcement on Wednesday evening on a talk show where he confirmed that steps had already been taken for the teams to get the financial injection.
There is a general imbalance. General imbalance, general imbalance, general imbalance, general imbalance, general imbalance, general imbalance.
We apologize for that clip, and we continue. Sports Minister Olivia Grange says her ministry had been proactive in providing additional funds for the Reggae Girls.
I had committed $5 million to them in going to the qualifying matches. And now that they have qualified, we're going to sit down with the GFF and we're going to walk through the numbers and ensure that whatever they need and the support that they need, they will get.
Well, we go back to that clip where we had Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness talking about finance for the Reggae Girls and Sunshine Girls.
There is a general imbalance where the government expenditure as it relates to funding the female teams generally versus the male teams. I had the netballers come and pay me a courtesy call, and it was the same complaint. I believe it is something that the government should look into, and I have given directions that that be done. We have to do it now. We can't afford our team to be embarrassed having worked so hard in the preliminary. So we will have to ensure that they are properly funded.
And while Jamaica is celebrating, Trinidad and Tobago's team manager is blaming off-field issues and a lack of preparation for her team missing out on a chance to qualify for the World Cup finals. TV6's Sergio Dufour tells us more.
Manager of the women's football team, Janelle James, has blamed the poor preparation for the national team's exit from the CONCACAF leg of Women's World Cup qualifiers. She says that the issues of the field affected their performance throughout the competition.
I think a week of camp that was requested would have made a world of difference, because the girls were ready and they were prepared in spite of whatever shortcomings otherwise. But had that week of camp happened, I think the outcome and the attitude would have been completely 100% different.
James said the team is not always able to cope with the pressure, and the lack of preparation coupled with issues off the field took a toll on the players.
It takes a lot to come again and be treated in the same fashion. It becomes almost, it's exhausting, and it's a lot for them to pull themselves out again, At certain points, I would have players ask, why are we being treated like this?
James added there is need.
Jamaica now, where the Sunshine Girls hammered England Roses by 53 goals to 48 to complete another series sweep. And as we hear in this report by TVJ's Trishana McGowan, head coach Marvette Anderson was quite pleased with the girls' performance as they prepare for next year's Netball World Cup.
With the series already decided from Game 2, both teams made changes to their starting setup, with the Jamaicans going for Katie and Dehaney at goalkeeper, replacing Shamira Sterling, and Jodian Ward slotting in at wing defense, displacing Vangelie Williams. For the Roses captain and goalkeeper, Ama Abuezi made her first appearance of the series as a counter to the ever-consistent Janelle Fowler. The changes immediately shifted the dynamics of England's play, with the visitors matching the host goal for goal early in the first quarter. However, led by Fowler's 8 straight goals, the Jamaicans ended the quarter 16-10. Little change in the second quarter, with the Sunshine Girls being compact in defense, keeping the Roses to 11 goals in the quarter. Offensively, the Jamaicans were once again efficient, netting 14 goals for a 30-21 lead at halftime. Changes for England after the resumption did little to change the outcome, as the number 4 ranked Sunshine Girls increased their lead in the third period as they outscored the Roses 16-13 for a 46-34 lead at the end of the stanza. And with the game seemingly over as a contest, the fourth quarter was more about being in the moment than it was about combinations and build-up play. But even then, the Roses proved no match for the Sunshine, as they were outclassed at both ends of the court. Jamaican's captain and goal shooter Fowler once again led the scoring with 42 goals from 46 attempts. She received support from Shanice Beckford, who netted 12 goals from 17. Young England shooter Georgia Fisher was the leading scorer for the Roses, with 24 goals from 28 attempts. Sunshine Girls coach Marvet Anderson and coach of the Roses Tracy Neville say the series gave a good indication of where they are ahead of next year's World Cup.
Total team effort defensively as well as in our attack. We want to play as a cohesive unit, so whatever we do, we need to do it as a unit without any flaws.
Just not quite got it together, and that's probably down to unfamiliar relationships between that attack end, the contest that they're under, the physical contest that they're coming for balls, something that some of these players have not had experience. So tonight is about them obviously building on that learning that they've got over the last couple of test matches.
The Sunshine Girls will now turn their attention to the upcoming Fast 5 World Series, set for October 27 to 28 in Australia. The Jamaicans finished second at the last edition.
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Your luggage is overweight. Your luggage is overweight. How much I must pay?
No, you can't do it like that. You'll have to take some of the things out in the suitcases and put in a box or something.
You know, you're a wicked woman. A wicked fat woman.
Do you want a boxer?
Box me, no? You think so you're helping me sprite me? Try a box.
Barbados, it's time to laugh again. Get yourselves ready for the Caribbean's funniest men and women. Fast Promotions Annual Caribbean Comedy Explosion. Saturday, October 27th, Sir Garfield Sobers Gymnasium, 8 p.m. Get your early bird tickets now and pay $60 before all are sold out. At ticketlinks.com, all Ticket Links outlets nationwide, Jeans Inc. Sheraton, CS Pharmacy, Rubis Wildy, and Eddie Supermarket Spikestown.
I come in here as a loner, I know you spot me from far.
And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, log on to CanadaNews.com. And for more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and subscribe to CaribVision's YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have to yourselves a good night.